Madame Obscene, illustrator, designer, visual artist, and today I'll be taking you through a demonstration of stenciling as a part of the Stencil Art Prize touring exhibition currently on show at Gympie Regional Gallery. Right now we'll see 61 international stencil artists and myself displaying the best of their work in the biggest stencil exhibition of its kind in the world. So, stenciling, what is it, I hear you ask? Well, basically it's a printmaking process where a design is cut into an object and then pigment, like paint, is pushed through the object to make a pattern. So what we'll be doing today is cutting the image and then spraying it. So where you start is normally with an image or a design. I've actually made an image. It'll be available to download off the website obscene.com, and here it is. Basically we've got our image, but you're going to need some tools. Things like a scalpel. You can get these from pretty much any $2 shop. I use a surgical steel scalpel because I do a lot of cutting with a number 11 blade. Just be really careful when using anything like these because they are super sharp and you can really quickly cut the end of your finger off. So when using spray paints, it's always a really good idea to use masks. Dust masks like this are pretty affordable. You can get them from most hardwares. If you want to get really serious about it, you can get these ones with filters and respirators that I use because I do a lot of painting. Gloves, because spray paint is really quite toxic. Gloves are a really great idea because it's really hard to get off of you. It's almost like when washing your hands you have to use terps or thinners, which is even more harmful to your skin, so look after yourself, it makes sense. And goggles if you need them. I don't need them clearly because I've got glasses, but goggles are great because you can get a bit of spray splash up. Now when it comes to spray paint, it's hundreds and hundreds of colours, hundreds of brands on the market. It doesn't really matter. What's important is how you use them, and the key to that is sparingly. You don't have to go hard fast. You can actually, you do it layers, you build it up, and on the back of all the cans it tells you the best way to do it. 45-degree angle, 20 centimetres away from the surface, lightly dusted coats, which will take you through that. So what we're going to be working on here is a basic 3-level stencil. There's a couple of things you can come unstuck if you don't plan it right from the start. So the first layer is actually just a background, so it's going to be the bit that you cut out, and I've cut this one out before, that it will actually provide you with the colour of the skull and the highlights. So basically that's as simple as getting this sheet and then cutting it out, and then you create your first stencil layer, which would be the one we put down first. Where it gets a little tricky is in the second layer, and this is where people generally get unstuck, is that with a stencil like this, we'd be cutting out the black to be the bit that we spray. The issue is with this is though that there is bits in the stencil that aren't connected, so basically islands. Now islands are difficult because say something like here, we're going to cut out all the black, but then this white section in here has no connection to the outside of the background of the main part of the stencil. So what we have to do is something called bridges. Now a bridge is basically when you connect the background to the bit of the stencil that you want to keep. So in this instance the jaw here is an island, so we want to be able to create a bridge between cutting across the black lines here and here so that it's connected to the background. When it comes to spraying, you'll see what I mean. If we weren't to do that and we were just to cut out all that black, obviously then this white would fall out and then we wouldn't have an island that would be picking up in the actual stencil. So we'll get to cutting this one now. As you can see with this one, now that I've created bridges between the background and the jawbone, the jaw actually stays intact. When you spray, then this will be the negative, so the background will stay untouched, and the black, the area that you're painting, will come through here. So this one has got a couple of bridges here, here, and here. So now we've got that stencil cut, we need to think about the surface in which we're going to paint on. So the cool thing about stencils is once you've got it, you can actually paint it onto anything. It can be card, it can be wood, it can be a canvas, it can be a wall. I like to use distressed timber, which I have a piece here which I've been leaving out in the weather, and it's got a nice surface area, it's nice and textured, and the clean stencil will look great over this. One of the things you can do with a stencil piece is that instead of just like whacking the stencil straight onto the board, you can always have a bit of fun with building up backgrounds. So you don't have to spend heaps of time cutting stencils. You can find stuff around the house or in the shops. So things like doilies. You can go and raid your nana's cupboard and get her little pieces of lace that, you know, that work really cool. Cool thing about stencils, they last for ages, so you can keep on using them over and over again. This is a leopard print one that I've done up. I've got stars. Placemats are always really great. These sort of things, you can pick them up from most shops really cheaply. And always check out places like tip shops and industrial recyclers, because they have things like this, which is like the offcuts of like Perspex laser cutting, which can make some really great backgrounds. So backgrounds are really cool, and they can make your work stand out and be quite interesting and unique. But next, let's actually get into some of the parts of actually getting set up and get this done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with taping up the borders of this one. Taping up the borders is a good process because it can actually just define the edge of your work, even if the timber that you're using looks a bit cruddy and old. A clean straight line can always be really effective. Alright, so that being done, we're going to work with popping down just a couple of first elements of the background with some of the stencils that I found. So I might use a little bit of these ones here, the reverse garbage found laminate cuts, and use a little bit of Luro line marking paint. Speckle it a little bit. I like these line marking cans because you can get these little half-tone speckles if you half hold down the paint lid. Alright, so that's the first bit done. So the next bit will be then to get the stencil, the first layer, which is the skull. And I'm not going to get too adventurous, I'm just going to whack this one straight in the middle. But what I am going to do is mask it up, because the first layer becomes almost like your registration mark. So it's the one that you can use to line up your other stencil layers. So we're going to go with a pretty neutral background colour. This is sort of like a bony pink. This is hold the can back a bit and lightly spray in quick squirts. Don't have to go too hard because it will take ages to dry. That's pretty good. We'll let that dry for a bit and then we'll come back to it. Alright, so we're ready to go down onto the next layer. This is going to be the majority of the stencil. So we're going to just line it up. It's going to take a little bit of time to get it right. Pat it down. I've left it a little bit tacky so that it just holds this down nicely. And I'm going to get a little bit in black. And again, just slightly spray. Hold it down if you don't want to get any underspray. Go around the edges, painting holding the can pointing inwards on a slight angle just helps you keep those lines clean. Looking pretty good. And we just let that dry for a bit before we put on our final highlight stencil. Now we're going with the final and third layer. You'll notice that I left the previous layer underneath. That's so that it actually just works as an extra mask. And this is just basically a couple of quick little squirts. And then we can reveal. Take it off gently because you might be able to use the stencil later. Another good tip is if you want to use them for lots of stencils quickly, you can actually just laminate the work, laminate the stencil, and it comes up pretty great. So there it's looking pretty cool. We'll take our mask background layer off. And there we go at this stage. Now, when I cut out the base layer, I kept this piece. The reason I kept this piece is this is a quick little trick which you can do to clean it up as you pop it over the stencil. If you want to add some extra embellishments into the background, it works like a reverse mask. A little speckle in there. And then we peel off the edge. Twist it around. And there we go. So there you have it. Completed piece of stencil artwork by Obscene. For more information about the Stencil Art Prize, you can go to stencilartprize.com. The show's up until the 31st of this month, so make sure you get out if you can. The show's still touring around the country, so go to the Stencil Art Prize website to find out more. If you'd like to contact me, you can follow me on Instagram on 085C3N3 is the handle. Remember, Stencil the World. I'm Obscene. Thanks for joining me on this demonstration.